The reality is you have not done this before. You have not had this role before and you haven't executed in this role before. We all know that. But what people tend to miss or don't spend enough time dwelling on is the fact that you are here for a reason and you were hired or promoted because of your potential.
Welcome to the Career Changemaker podcast, where we focus on owning your career journey and making impact through the work that you do. Whether you're looking to pivot, transition into leadership, or reimagine your career completely, this podcast is for you. We'll unpack career development strategies, leadership insights, and the mindset shifts needed to thrive in your career. Being a career changemaker means taking control and shaping your professional path with intention. I'm your host, lawyer turned career and leadership development specialist, Janine Esbrand. So if you're ready for candid conversations that are going to help you grow, keep listening. Hello, and welcome to the show. In today's episode, we are talking about a topic that is really important and that affects a lot of us, and that is imposter syndrome. According to a KPMG study, 75% of female executives have experienced imposter syndrome during their careers. If you are somebody who is looking to grow, develop, advance in your career, the likelihood is you're going to be stepping out of your comfort zone at some point, or maybe regularly. And as you do that, it's very, very normal and very understandable that you might experience imposter syndrome. So in today's episode, I want to talk about not only how you overcome imposter syndrome, but how you can leverage it and use it to your advantage so that you can get to the place where you're feeling confident in the work that you do. So without further ado, let's dive into this conversation.
I want to really talk about imposter syndrome today because I've had a number of conversations with people who have recently moved into leadership positions, and imposter syndrome is one of those topics that comes up a lot, right? People talk about it a lot, and what I want to do today is just talk about how you can overcome it. And I say it's overcome because the reality is 75% of us is going to experience imposter syndrome at some point in our careers, right? So it isn't so much how do you not experience imposter syndrome? It's more about how do you manage it and how do you allow it to be a fuel for you so that you can move forward and you can grow in your role in your career versus something that hinders you from moving forward. So we're going to talk about three main things today. I want to break down three areas that you can be focusing on, particularly if you are a new manager. So say you've just been promoted to a position or you've just moved into a leadership role within a new organization. These are things that are going to be really helpful for you. Now let's talk about the three things you really need to be focusing on if you feel as though imposter syndrome is affecting you. So the first thing is acknowledge that it makes sense and that it's normal for imposter syndrome to come up. The times and the circumstances in which imposter syndrome will appear is when you're about to do something different. You're about to do something that you haven't done before or show up in a way that you haven't showed up before. So it makes sense that you have that feeling of, can I do this? Is it possible? Am I going to be able to perform? So let's acknowledge that that's normal and that's fine. The problem comes is when you allow that to stop you from being able to just show up and do the thing. When you are recently promoted to management, like when you're taking on your first leadership role or you are climbing the ranks within the leadership ladder, the reality is you have not done this before. You have not had this role before and you haven't executed in this role before. We all know that. But what people tend to miss or don't spend enough time dwelling on is the fact that you are here for a reason and you were hired or promoted because of your potential. You were hired or promoted because of your potential, because of your track record, because of what you've been able to create before in your career. The powers that be saw something in you that made them think that this person is going to be able to help us as an organization to achieve our goals. This person is going to be able to help us to drive forward our initiatives. We know that because they have a track record of doing things that show us that they have the capability, that show us that they have the skill set, that show us that they have the insight that is going to be valuable to us as we move forward. So when you're thinking about whether or not you can do this, don't focus so much on, I haven't done this before, but focus more on what you have done, right? It's so easy to focus on what's missing and not what is already there. So you taking the time to really assess, how did I even get here? What were the steps that I took in the past? What are the opportunities that I've had in the past? What's the experience that I've built in the past? What is the profile that I've built in the past that's helped me to get here? And recognize the value of that. Because if it wasn't valuable, you wouldn't be in this role right now. Don't overlook the value. So really pay attention to, okay, what evidence do I have to support the fact that I am a valid candidate for this opportunity, or that I have the capability or I have the potential to perform really well in this role, and lean into that. I think so often when we are faced with a new challenge or something that we have to do next that's different, we focus so much on the doing part. Like, what do I need to do to be successful? Do I need to learn how to run team meetings? Do I need to improve my presentation skills? Do I need to learn how to read spreadsheets? Do I need to be more cognizant of like the strategic planning? There's all the do's, which absolutely makes sense, right? You've got a new job description, you've got a new area of focus. However, the bit that we don't spend enough time on is the being part. This is what I need to do, but like, who do you need to be as a leader now? What do you need to be thinking about? What do you need to be considering? What self-care mechanisms do you need to put in place? There is going to be a different level of responsibility. There's a different remit for you in this role. And so who you are as a person and what you show up doing on a daily basis, the habits that you develop, that all matters. Sometimes that matters more than the actual task that you're able to deliver. So I think when we're thinking about moving, it's like, yes, I am transitioning into a new role. There are new things that I'm going to have to do, things that I haven't done before. But also in parallel, I need to show up differently. There's more that is required of me, or things are required of me differently. So how do I calibrate that? And I think a lot of the time, the friction that a lot of us face when we're making a transition is that we're trying to just jump straight to the action, and we haven't caught up with the role, right? It's like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this, and this, but I'm still trying to operate on the same operating system that I have been operating. But the purpose of that operating system was different. So before you're a leader, it's more about your technical ability. It's more about your delivery. It's showing up, doing the job, getting things done. Like, you're the person in the doing seat. Now you're a leader. It's not just about the doing. You may still be doing some of that, but it's more about the leading, and what is required of you as a leader is different. You might be spending more time planning. You might be spending more time strategizing. You might be spending more time managing, and not time in the weeds doing the thing that you got very, very good at over the years that helped you to get promoted, right? So pay attention to that. There is an identity shift that is going to be happening. And if you don't pay attention to it, the fallout holds you back, because you haven't acknowledged that actually I'm becoming a new person. I'm becoming a different person, the person that I need to be in order to execute in this role. So we need to pay attention to both, right? So own your value is the first thing that I want to encourage you to do. Your value in terms of what you've been able to bring to the table previously, and allow that to be your evidence point for what you're likely to be able to do in the future. And then from there, you want to really lean into the fact that this is a process. This is a process. It's not going to be a one and done situation like, okay, I got my promotion, I start next week, and so now I'm ready to do all the things next week. That isn't always the case. And that brings me to kind of the second point, which is turn this imposter syndrome into a positive, into your superpower, because the areas where you feel like you're not competent, or the areas where you're concerned that you're not able to show up, sometimes there may be a legitimate reason why you feel like, I can't do this. There's a skills gap, right? I haven't done it before. I don't know how to do it. And so there's a skills gap. So rather than dwelling on the fact that you don't know how to do this thing, turn it into a positive, an action item. It's like, I know, I recognize that I have a gap here. This is going to be required of me. So how can I close that gap? I worked with a client once who was looking at returning to a leadership role or I shouldn't say returning, getting a leadership role after leading in her own business, right? So she had run her own business for 10 years and then she wanted to transition back into corporate and she wanted to execute in a leadership role, but she was lacking confidence. And she kept saying, like, I just don't feel confident. I just don't feel confident. I just don't feel confident. And what was important for us to do was isolate where that's coming from. What is it specifically that you don't feel confident about? Because there's many things you're going to have to do in this role, many of which that you've done as a leader in your own business. So when you're saying don't feel confident, what are we actually talking about? And when we did that, she was able to identify that there was certain technical things that she was rusty around. Like, she had done her studying years ago and she hadn't spent the time updating her knowledge because she wasn't in that space anymore. So because of that lack of clarity and understanding of the current technical frameworks and what was required of her, that was making her feel that she couldn't do the role in the round. So when we isolated that and we identified, okay, you don't feel confident here, what would you actually have to do in order for you to feel confident? She was able to pinpoint that actually I might be able to take a course, I might be able to go online and do an online course, a short course that can help me to like refresh my skill set. And once she did that, she realized that rather than saying, I don't feel confident, I can't do this whole thing, it's like, no, there's a specific thing that I need to focus on that's going to help me. So when you're feeling like you are ill-equipped, ask yourself, what would it take for me to feel like I can do this? Allow the imposter syndrome to be an indicator, right? If it's like, okay, I don't feel like I can do this, like narrow it down, isolate what is it specifically that you're concerned about, and then what action can we take so that we can move you forward in that area. I think sometimes imposter syndrome gets a bad rap. It's like, oh, imposter syndrome is so bad, like we all feel this way and we shouldn't, and we should push past it. Yes, and there's elements of it that sometimes we allow to blow out of proportion, but there is sometimes some truth in your feeling of like there being a gap. So lean into that. And then the last thing is really around reframing the beliefs that you have in general. So sometimes when we are saying, I am moving into this and I can't do it, I'm not able to do it, it's not just the skills gap. Sometimes it is the belief system that we have in our mind that's operating in the background that is fueling the feelings that you have. So what you believe influences what you think. And then what you think is going to influence how you feel. And then how you feel is going to influence how you act. So if you have this feeling of, I can't do this, sometimes it's important to take a step back and say, okay, what thoughts am I playing out in my mind that is contributing to me feeling this way? And are those thoughts true? So they might be true if you identify that there's a skills gap, but sometimes they're not, right? And so when you can really tackle what is the belief that I'm having right now? So you might have a belief that I'm not good enough is like playing in the background. So because you feel like you're not good enough, you feel like you have to keep doing and filling all the gaps before you're ready. So the question is that true? And can we look at our track record and can we find evidence to support the fact that you are good enough because you got promoted? You are good enough because you've done amazing things in the past. And then you have the opportunity to really tackle those beliefs and rewrite those beliefs so that you're able to show up differently. So rather than I'm not good enough, you could reframe that belief with I'm learning, and once I learn, I'll be able to make an impact. Or this is a journey and I know that I'm not the best in this role yet because I haven't done it yet and I don't have experience, but I can be in the future. So really thinking about your thoughts, and I was having a coaching session with a client yesterday and I was like, it's so important to pay attention to your thoughts. Like, what are you thinking and how is that influencing the way that you're showing up? And you have the opportunity to reframe your thoughts so that you can get a better outcome. Those are some things that I think can be really, really helpful for you if you are moving into the role or if you've been in it for a while, but you're finding yourself just really questioning yourself and your ability, and it's stopping you from moving forward and making the type of impact that you want to make. One other bonus thing that I recommend everybody does is keep track of your wins. Sometimes the reason why you're not able to find evidence points to support the fact that you can do this and that you are good enough and that you are capable is that you're not tracking them. You are a high achiever, right? So you get the job done, you get your head down, you do the project, you execute, and then you're like, next, and you move on to the next thing without fully acknowledging what you just achieved, without fully acknowledging the impact that you made and the results that you got for you, for your team, for your clients, for the organization. So going forward, if you haven't done this already, create a file, whether that's electronically or maybe you have a notebook. And anytime you have a win, note it down. So that when you have those moments of self-doubt, you have those moments of, I don't know if I can do this, then you have a place to go to remind yourself of your capability, to remind yourself that you are able to do awesome things. So I hope that's helpful for you. I'm going to recap. So the 3 things, if you are a new manager and you are moving into a new opportunity and you are experiencing that imposter syndrome, like rearing its head, and you're like, I just feel like I'm not ready or I'm not equipped. I want you to firstly own your value, pay attention to the value that you've been able to bring in your career before, and allow that to be an indicator of the value that you're going to be able to bring going forward. Number 2, you want to turn your imposter syndrome into a superpower, in that it's highlighting areas where there may be a skills gap. And so how can you plug the gap so that your confidence in your ability can increase? And then number 3 is reframe your self-doubt. So really look at the beliefs that you have that are influencing your thoughts, and look for opportunities to reframe your thoughts so that you are thinking more positively about what's possible for you and the impact that you're going to be able to make in this role. And then the bonus was that you need to keep track of your awesomeness in a file or a document so that you're able to easily retrieve evidence of the times where you've done things really, really well. Yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. And I also want to say, if you have recently been promoted or you've stepped into the leadership role and you've stepped up, I want to say kudos to you. Congratulations. It's not easy. And so if you haven't given yourself a pat on the back, then please do that. If you know any new managers that would find this helpful, encouraging, inspiring, or the like, then please do tag them in it and share. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you very, very soon.
I hope you found that discussion on imposter syndrome useful. It was actually a recording from a live stream that I did over on LinkedIn a few weeks ago. I thought you would appreciate the conversation here on the podcast. And if you are not connected with me on LinkedIn, please go ahead and connect so you can see the daily content that we share, the live Q&A sessions that we host, and all the goodness that's going on over there in that community. So connect with me there, keep working towards your career goals, come up with your own strategies for overcoming the inevitable imposter syndrome, and I will speak to you again very, very soon.